Gentlemen, the Honorable Minister has arrived. We will start the proceedings in a moment. I request everyone to take their seats. May I request all the diplomatic representatives and delegations to take their positions, please. Thank you very much. We will start the proceedings. If Namaste and a very good morning to Excellencies, distinguished diplomatic representatives, trade commissioners, and other special guests. On behalf of the Invest Telangana Cell, Government of Telangana, I have the pleasure of welcoming you all to the special outreach program today at T-Hub, which is the world's largest innovation campus. And I also welcome you to Telangana, which is a startup state of India. I am Dr. Vishnu Vardhan Reddy, Special Secretary for Investment Promotion and External Engagement, your host and MC for the day. To kickstart the proceedings, I invite Shri Jayesh Ranjan Garu, IAS, Principal Secretary, in Information Technology, Electronics and Communication, Industries and Commerce, to deliver his welcome address.
Honorable Minister for Industries and Commerce, Information Technology, Urban Development, Mr. K.T. Ramarao, Excellencies, Senior Ambassadors, Consul Generals, Honorary Consuls of different countries who have accepted our invitation and who are here in this outreach event, my senior colleague from Ministry of External Affairs, Dr. Raj Shekhar, my colleagues from Telangana government, a warm welcome to all of you. First of all, I'm very grateful that at a short notice, you have all been able to spare your valuable time to understand the industry-friendly policies, the successes that our state of Telangana has achieved in the last 8 years. The main reason for inviting all of you here is that while many of you live in Delhi, you have a country-specific understanding of India, and others live in Bangalore, Chennai, etc., Mumbai, and you have again a distilled kind of a version of what your embassy or High Commission in Delhi thinks about the country. The best way to understand India is actually to visit states, visit progressive states, and see for yourself what kind of dynamism, what kind of business-friendly approaches are followed there. So, and we also know that whenever an international investor is looking at India, unfortunately, because of the legacy of the past, when we had complicated rules, procedures, etc., etc., they are still a bit tentative and wary about how India will respond to them. And I know for sure that they look up to all of you for guidance about the country, which state will be better prepared to receive them, what will be the way of approaching India, etc. So we hope that over this next 30 to 45 minutes, you will develop a very good understanding about how Telangana is outperforming literally most of the Indian states, in fact, in some ways, all of the Indian states. And tomorrow when an investor approaches you for reference about where in India should you really look up to, I do hope that based on your understanding and experience, you will be kind enough and gracious enough to ask them to check out Telangana as well. We expect no favors from anyone. We just want some kind of a level playing field because ours is a new state. Historically, this was a part of another state called Andhra Pradesh. Many people are not familiar with this distinction that there is a new state called Telangana. And obviously other states like Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, they are existing for 75 years. People know them better, and therefore that naturally happens that, okay, if I'm checking out south of India, let me check out Tamil Nadu, let me check out Karnataka. But do let them know that there is a promising state, a business-friendly state called Telangana as well, which will be much more receptive, much more responsive. And thereafter, after they have evaluated us, if they have evaluated our competition, and if they still feel that the value proposition is better, let us say in a Karnataka or a Tamil Nadu, we don't mind at all. I mean, that's quite fair. But we just want that initial introduction that you must look at Telangana as well. And thereafter, it is our responsibility to present a very strong case before them and be evaluated on merits. So once again, I'm grateful to all of you. And the format is like this. Our Honorable Minister will make a short presentation. Can we get the screen put here, please? And the presentation will be quite kind of self-explanatory about our policies, special features, which are the priority sectors, what are the advantages that we offer as compared to other states. And then thereafter, if you have any comments to make, any questions to ask, any clarifications to seek, both of us will be available. I'd also like to tell you that this interaction is being organized by a wing in our government, which is called Invest Telangana. And I'm sure during the coffee break you mingled with some of the staff of Invest Telangana. But I can tell you that you will never find such a professional agency in any other state. We run this Invest Telangana by recruiting people from the market, from the private sector, who have worked in similar domains. So for example, just to give an example, you can see our Director Life Sciences sitting behind, our Director Food Processing sitting there, our Director for Logistics, our Director for Aerospace, and so our Director for Electronics. Each of them have worked in that domain at least for 7 to 10 years. They understand the trends in that domain. They understand the way that industry operates, the dynamics, etc. And they are the front face of Invest Telangana. So if any investor needs introduction about Telangana, etc., these are the people who interface with them, give them assurance about Telangana's policy, etc. And then at an appropriate time, I interact with them, and finally, Honorable Minister interacts with them. Our website, invest.telangana.gov.in, is again very, very elaborate. It gives all kinds of information. So that can be an immediate first window when you are introducing any investor of your country to Telangana. And thereafter, our directors can have as many rounds of interactions as possible. And then at an appropriate stage, myself, Honorable Minister, we can kind of step in to close that deal. And this is how we have been working for the last 8 years, and our successes are remarkable, so to say. So I will stop with this, and I now videos. Okay, so there is a short video about our state of Telangana, post which I would request Honorable Minister to make his presentation. Thank you very much.
A story of triumphant progress, never witnessed by independent India. From an aspiring state to an inspiring role model, Telangana, a pioneer state in the forefront of exceptional growth, achieving an integrated holistic development. Spearheaded by a visionary who reinvented and reconstructed Telangana, a leader who understands the basic needs and requirements of the common people and delivers solutions that last for generations. A revolutionary who undertook a colossal endeavor of lifting a river to uplift the lives of millions of farmers and making them proud contributors to nation's growth. A reformer whose trend-setting new age welfare initiatives are socially and economically empowering millions, where dignity and prosperity for the downtrodden was a distant dream. An administrator who brought new reforms, creating efficient and effective governance for citizens. A statesman who invigorated Telangana's industrial progress through his path-breaking and innovative policies. A progressivist who made access to free world-class healthcare and quality education a reality for the poor. A representative who fostered an environment for culture and heritage to flourish. Shri K. Chandra Shekhar Rao, the Honorable Chief Minister, a true trailblazer and the architect of Telangana's unprecedented development. Triumphant Telangana.
Excellencies, this is a diplomatic gathering, and I think it is no less apt to introduce our Honorable Minister as the brand ambassador of Telangana, the architect of happening Hyderabad and the face of triumphant Telangana. I have the pleasure of inviting Shri K.T. Ramarao Garu, Honorable Minister for IT, Electronics and Communication, Industries and Commerce, Municipal Administration and Urban Development. Sir, the floor is yours. So the presentation is here, sir.
Very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you, Jayesh. Thank you, Vishnu, for organizing this. To the ambassadors in the gathering, to the consul generals in the gathering, to the honorary consul generals in the gathering as well, I welcome you all to this beautiful city of Hyderabad. Before I start off with my quick presentation, let me just share a couple of thoughts. As diplomats, as ambassadors, as consul generals, and in various positions, I'm sure you meet people in public life, ministers, you meet prime ministers, you meet the chief ministers, you meet businessmen, and you meet people of various hues and shades across the spectrum in India when you're positioned here. One of the things I keep repeating wherever I go, especially because diplomats have a fixed stint, a tenure. You're here in the country for a few years, and then obviously you go wherever your job takes you. One of the things I keep hearing, because I've been a minister now representing the Industry and Commerce Department, the Information Technology Department for the last 8 years. Wherever I travel along with my team, one of the questions we keep getting is, this comparison that gets drawn between India and China. Because, both are large countries, similar size in terms of population. We're about 1.4 billion people. I think they are 1.43 billion or 1.44. And I'm sure India will, very soon, in the next few years, actually be the most populous nation in the world. So one of the things I keep hearing, for lack of information, for lack of understanding, I guess, is if China can get something done so quickly, why is it different in India, is what I keep getting asked. I urge all of you to kindly, whenever you are faced with this question, because this is one thing that I have been saying all along, India and China, in fact, are very, very different in terms of how they are, perceived and how they are structured as well. India is a very heterogeneous, very diverse, very, very diverse country. In fact, if you ask me, India is more like Europe, a mini continent, so to speak, with so many different languages, so many cultures. Because if you travel the length and breadth of India, Jayesh was saying, the best way to understand India is to travel to the states. If you travel the length and breadth of the nation, you will realize and you will see that everything in India changes every 100 to 200 kilometers. The language, the culture, the dialect, the cuisine, the way people think, the way people dress, everything changes in India in every 100, 150 kilometers. In India, we have 22 official languages. We have more than 300 unofficial languages. In fact, we are so big, as you all know. Even the smallest of towns in India sometimes are possibly the largest in Europe or elsewhere, in terms of numbers, in terms of volumes. So the best way to understand India, if you ask me, because we are a federal republic and we have just completed 75 years of independence. If you ask me, the best way to understand India is to actually understand the federal structure of India, because each state by itself is empowered to make all the important decisions with respect to investments. While the overall trade and foreign trade, and also tariff-related issues could be vested with Government of India, the fact is the real action is in the states in India. Everything that matters when it comes to making an investment, land, cost of land, water, manpower, power, electricity, and everything else that is required, fiscal incentives, all of these are in the domain of the state. So I tell a lot of my friends, when I meet them, potential investors, about this old story that is narrated in Indian mythology. There was once upon a time an elephant and 8 blind men around it. All these blind men wanted to experience and understand what an elephant actually looks like, because they have never seen or they've never been able to feel one in their life. So they were all taken to a zoological park, and this is an elephant. They were all positioned at various points around the elephant in the room, in the zoo, in the den. Each of them felt one thing. One felt the trunk, another one felt the legs, another one felt the humongous body, another gentleman felt the tail, somebody else felt something else, but each of them, after the experience, were asked, so how was it? One said, it's humongous. Another said, no, it's not. It's actually very slender, very long, very hairy, if I may say so. So each of them had a very different experience of the elephant. Same is the case with India. It all depends on which gateway you choose to enter India. Because, your experience of India will hinge, will depend, will be predicated on which gateway you choose to enter India through. If you enter India through Hyderabad and Telangana, your experience will be very different than when you enter through, say, Uttar Pradesh. It's a very different experience because we work very differently. Our cultures are very different. Our thinking is very different. Some states are more progressive. Some states are more advanced. Some states are more adept at change. The point I'm trying to make, ladies and gentlemen, I know the story was a little longer than anticipated possibly, but this point I'm trying to make is, please choose your gateway wisely when you're investing in India. Because your experience, your memory or your opinion of India will actually hinge on the gateway you choose to invest through. Having said that, 2 years ago, Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji had invited all of us to Delhi to talk about what we need to do to make India truly a first world country over the course of next 25 to 50 years. And from the government of Telangana, from my political party here, I represented the state of Telangana. Now I had only told him 3 things. I said, sir, if we really have to ensure India becomes a first world nation, then we have to buy, subscribe and adhere to the 3I mantra. What are the 3 I's? The first I stands for innovation. The second I is infrastructure. The third I is inclusive growth. These 3 I's together will propel India truly into the orbit of growing nations, into the orbit of the first world countries. Now, before I elaborate further on the 3 I's, let me just quickly give you a snapshot of what my state has achieved over the last 8 years. Telangana is the youngest state in India. For those of you who are unfamiliar as to why this is the youngest state in India, The Constitution of India allows for the formation of new provinces, for the formation of new states, unlike some other countries. So as a result of a protracted struggle for decades, the state of Telangana came into being on the 2nd of June 2014. The capital city is Hyderabad, which is the 5th largest city in India and one of the fastest growing cities in India. If you look at the geographical size of Telangana, we are 12th largest in terms of geographical size among 28 Indian states. But if you look at population, we're 11th largest state in India. So by no means are we a small state. We are a mid-sized state. Now, what has Telangana done in the last 8 years which is remarkable? What makes it special among Indian states? The numbers will speak for themselves. The GSDP of Telangana, the gross state domestic product of Telangana, when the state was formed, was 5,06,000 crores. I don't know in dollar terms. I can't give you an exact number right now, but just to give you a percentage, I can. And about as of March 31st this year, the GSDP of Telangana is 11.55 lakh crores, almost 130% increase. The per capita income of Telangana was 1.24 lakh rupees back in 2014. As of March 31st this year, it is 2.8 lakh rupees. Just to give you a comparison, the average per capita of India as a nation is 1.49 lakh rupees. Telangana is almost double the per capita of India, the rest of national average. If you look at the expansion of agriculture in Telangana, because of the fact that we have taken it upon ourselves to construct some of the largest projects in the world. In fact, we have constructed in a very short span of time, about 4 years, the world's largest lift irrigation project in our state. That is the result why you see the irrigated land also has expanded from 62.5 lakh acres in 2014 to almost 1.36 crores or 136.9 lakh acres, which is almost double or even more in fact. Right now it's 119% to be precise. The IT exports of Telangana back in 2014-15 were at 66,000 crores, and now they've risen by almost 248% to 1,83,000 crore. The installed power capacity of Telangana was about 9,470 megawatts, which now has almost doubled to 17,218 megawatts. These are some of the numbers. I'll get a bit deeper into it when we actually go into a discussion. We have grown in all sectors: the primary sector, the secondary sector, the tertiary sector. The primary sector, as you know, agriculture, we have grown at 9.1% in 2021-22, and the contribution has risen also from the agriculture sector from a mere 14% to 18.6%. My director food processing is here, Jayesh is of course here. Telangana is now, in fact, ushering in 5 different kinds of revolutions as we speak. Of course, green revolution, because you know the agriculture has expanded by 119%. We see immense production of paddy, cotton, and a number of other agricultural produce, and that is ushering in green revolution. We are, in fact, a land of 46,000 lakes and tanks, and therefore, Government of Telangana has taken it as a challenge, as a priority, to encourage inland fisheries. And Government of India has recognized us as a top state in inland fisheries, and which is ushering in a blue revolution. In fact, now we are at a stage, because of the newly built reservoirs and because of the rejuvenated tanks and lakes, we are at a stage where we can export fishes and prawns and shrimp from Telangana to United States and to Europe as well. We are also witnessing a strong white revolution. We have become one of the strongest states in dairy sector as well, because of government's focus and additional incentives that are being given to the dairy farmers. We are also, in fact, ushering in a pink revolution in meat processing, because in Telangana, livestock development has been taken as a task as well to improve rural livelihoods. As a result, the livestock, in fact, has doubled in Telangana, especially sheep, has doubled in Telangana over the last 5 years. And Telangana also wants to ensure that the country does not remain dependent on imports for edible oil from Malaysia, from Indonesia. So therefore, we have started encouraging oil palm in a big way. Our target is ambitious, 20 lakh acres of oil palm cultivation over the next 5 years. And that will usher in, we believe, a yellow revolution, which will also help the rest of the nation. In terms of industrial growth, we are one of the most progressive, most dynamic, and most forward-thinking state in the country. Our growth rate is by far, the highest in the country at 20.2%. And the contribution of the industries sector is almost 29%, 28.6% to be precise. Those of you who do not know, or those of you who possibly are not aware, since we are not yet fully out of the pandemic, let me share with you. I don't know how many of you know this, Telangana is home to 1/3 of global vaccine supply. We are the city where 1/3 of global vaccines are produced. I'm not talking India, I'm talking globe. Because, even COVID vaccines that came from India, the 2 COVID vaccines that are indigenous have both come from Telangana. Serum Institute, of course, was manufacturing for AstraZeneca, so I don't count that as an indigenous vaccine. The 2 vaccines, Covaxin and Corbevax, both of them came from Hyderabad. To be precise, 9 billion doses of vaccine are produced per annum from Telangana. So that gives you a sense of what is going to happen. And recently, in fact, because of the Quad program, one of the large companies here called Biological Advance has signed up a deal, and they are expanding, which will take our vaccine production to almost 50% of the globe from one single state, and that is Telangana. Let me also give you another example about our strength in life sciences. The largest number of US FDA approved manufacturing facilities for any single province in the world are in Telangana. The second largest is in New Jersey in the United States. The largest number of US FDA approved manufacturing facilities in pharmaceutical production are in Telangana. More than 250 such units exist in Telangana. That makes us the pharmaceutical capital of India, the life sciences hub of India, and of course one of the most important life sciences nodes in the world as well. And we are, of course, growing it. I'll talk a bit about it later. We are also a powerhouse in aerospace and defense. I don't know again how many of you know this, but President Joe Biden's helicopter cabin is also made in Telangana. In fact, Sikorsky is the company which manufactures it. They manufacture in a joint venture with Tata Advanced Aerosystems Limited, and they manufacture it out of Telangana as well. And there's plenty of other things that are also going on. And I can even arrange for a tour so that you can get a look at some of the engines, the LEAP engines that are being manufactured, some of the world-class fighter jet empennages that are manufactured, some of the fuselage that is manufactured for helicopters such as Apache, all made in Telangana, all coming out of the city of Hyderabad. We are also a very, very strong player in electronics and IT. I'll talk about IT in a bit. Electronics as well. Today, 25% of the television sets that are produced in India come from Telangana. We have a very strong presence in electronics, but of course our ambition is larger. We want to be the Shenzhen of India. We want to ensure that Hyderabad becomes the hub for electronics in India, and we are making a lot of efforts in that direction. My director, Semiconductors and Electronics, is also here. He will be more than happy to share more details with you. Of course, we talked a bit about all the revolutions that are sweeping, as a result of agricultural expansion, which naturally, consequentially, lands in food processing and processed food production. Telangana, in fact, is the only state in India which has taken upon itself to set up what is called as Special Food Processing Zones of the state of Telangana, TSSFZ. Now, these special food processing zones are spread across different districts. spread across 10,000 acres of land, and are readily available for anybody who would want to come and invest in my state. The services sector, of course, has also been growing. I'll talk about it in a bit. Why did agriculture expand? I would say because of the initiatives of the government in terms of investments into irrigation, in terms of investments into welfare schemes such as Raitu Bandhu, which is a direct benefit transfer into farm input to the millions of farmers, insuring the farmers, one of its kind in the world. The state directly insures every single farmer to the tune of almost 5 lakh rupees in case of a natural death as well. And of course, because of a very strong food processing policy, the sector has been growing. I can go on, but I think we'll move on. Next slide, please. We are, in fact, a powerhouse in information technology. We are home to more than 1,500 plus multinational companies. Just to give you a sense of what it is that I'm talking about, if you look at the brand names there, Google, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, and Meta, all of their second largest campuses in the world, anywhere in the world, outside of their headquarters, are here in the city of Hyderabad. In fact, let me share with you, Amazon's world's largest campus is not in Seattle, it is in Hyderabad. And all of this has happened over the period of last 8 years. Except Microsoft, which set shop in 2001, the rest of the companies that you see here, all of them have come in the last 8 years. Not only these, Uber, Salesforce, Micron, Qualcomm, ServiceNow, Novartis, all of these companies, their second largest base in the world is in my city, Hyderabad. In case you're thinking, are these BPO, KPO kind of operations? No. Some of the most cutting edge work in maps, in AR, VR, AI, ML happens outside of Hyderabad. In fact, I'm sure all of you use Google Maps. Google Maps are actually developed in Hyderabad. So just to give you a sense of what's going on, the number of jobs that were created in the information technology industry last year in India, altogether in India, the country, was about 455,000, out of which my city, Hyderabad alone, had 150,000 plus. So more than 1/3 of the jobs that were created in the IT sector last year in the middle of the pandemic were in Hyderabad, not in Bangalore. Bangalore was at 148,000. So we have been able to also give Bangalore a run for its money over the last few years. Of course, we have a lot of catching up to do, but we are on the right track is what I would like to believe. As I was saying, we are the nucleus of life sciences. We are a pioneer in aerospace and defense, and we are also an extremely important hub in electronics and semiconductors. So why Telangana? Why should anybody look at us? When I said innovation, infrastructure, and inclusive growth, that is not mere lip service. We take our words very seriously. We have innovated not just in terms of creating an infrastructure like T-Hub, which is the world's largest technology incubator. We've also innovated in our policy making. That's why Telangana today, because of a new legislation called as the TSI Pass, which stands for the Telangana State Industrial Project Approval Self-Certification System. Like the Easy Pass in the US, which you navigate through easily. We have created a similar facility here, and we have conferred upon the investor, the prospective investor, a right to self-certify themselves. You may have heard of right to information. You may have also heard of right to education. But in Telangana, we have conferred upon the investors a right to self-certify themselves. Now, what do I mean? What I mean is, if you are an investor, a foreign or Indian, doesn't matter, you have a piece of land and you want to start construction. You actually do not need any clearance from government of Telangana. You don't need a permission from the municipality. You don't need a permission from the Gram Panchayat. No permission needed. And this is backed by legislation. You can hit the ground running. You can start construction of your factory on day one. Only for regulatory purposes, we request that you submit an application online on the TSI Pass portal, because we need to know who's doing business in my state. We need to know what kind of employment is being generated, what kind of taxes we are likely to accrue, and what kind of sector you're investing in. Once we receive your application in the TSI Pass portal, my efficient team will ensure that irrespective of how many departments have to clear your proposal, it could be 30, it could be 35 sometimes, all clearances by statute, by legislation, will be conferred within 15 days. You can say that, okay, I've heard this before. You can of course say, with a bit of cynicism, I've heard this before. Every state I go to, they give me the same thing. How are you different? We are different because if we don't deliver on the 15-day window, on the 16th day, it's a deemed approval. It's an approval by default backed by legislation. Even the government cannot contest it. And from 16th day, let me also tell you, my most efficient Principal Secretary, Jayesh Ranjan, my Special Secretary, Vishnuvardhan Reddy, two top-notch bureaucrats, even they are not exempt from a penalty of rupees 1,000 per day if they are held responsible for holding up a clearance. Of course, Jayesh and Vishnu have not yet been penalized because they are super efficient. In case you're wondering, well, this sounds too good to be true, does it actually work in reality? In the last 7.5 years, since we passed this legislation in 2014 on the 5th of November, we have given more than 20,000 clearances. We have been able to raise more than 2.4 crore investment, lakh crore investment, which roughly translates to, I think, what is the dollar value now? 80 rupees, is it? So I think it would roughly translate to about $30 billion. And we've created a direct job potential of more than 1.6 million jobs. That's why we are ranked right on the top on the ease of doing business rankings given by Government of India. We have consistently been in the top 3. We missed by a whisker last time, otherwise we would have been on number 1. And let me also add the one thing that's important. I know that in today's world, the competition to attract investment is not among Indian states alone. When an investor is looking at making an investment, he's mulling options, he's weighing options, he's looking at various geographies. Sometimes the competition is between Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, and India. Sometimes it could be Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India. It could be something else, other geographies. So therefore, we have a very unique policy in Telangana, where if you, as a prospective investor, is willing to share with me what my competition has offered to you in terms of fiscal incentives, we will either meet or beat that offer. And this is again backed by legislation, this is backed by the statute, which makes it extremely attractive for anybody to start looking at. Next slide, please. So these are all the entities that we have created over the last 8 years. T-Hub, where we are sitting, is in fact the largest technology incubator in the world. And what do I mean, technology incubator? Say for instance, yesterday, I'll not name names, but a large American company, a large sports and apparel manufacturer, they had met me yesterday. They asked me, they said, if I want to run an innovation challenge,